Chris with LG Squared at the 1920s Makeover ATL project. I'm here with Corbett Lunsford of the Building Performance Workshop, also part of my friend's circle. He's a good guy. We are here at the Makeover project to find out just how much of a sieve this house is. We're guessing it's super leaky, and it was built in 1920s, and back then they didn't have people like Corbett Lunsford testing to see how much leakage there was, because they didn't know how what all that meant as it does today. It wasn't as important to make the house tight that back then. It was more let it breathe. There was no insulation back then. This house has no insulation in it. It also doesn't have any sheathing. So this is an opportunity for us to see just how leaky we are now, and then be able to see how much we are going to improve. So it's to understand how these buildings worked, how leaky they were. So Corbett, the red thing in there is a blower door. A lot of people know about that, but give us a little more about that, about what you do and what we found out today.
Sure. So all we need to do really to find out how to make this house better is to test the physics, chemistry, and microbiology of it. You might skip some of those steps because, like, for example, this is going to be a gut. They're going to completely renovate the whole thing. So we don't really need to know what the current insulation is doing if you wanted to, so that you could say, look, we took this from where it was to where it is now. Then that's great. But frankly, if you're going to sell it to a new person at the end of this, then that person isn't going to care how bad it was before. They want you to know what it is now. So of course we'll be testing at the end. But this is the single most important test for any home in the world. And almost nobody has actually seen one in person or run one, which is kind of scary because it's been around for basically as long as I've been alive. I'm 42 years old. So I did not invent this. Lots of people around the country can do this, and you just need to find somebody locally who can, do this test for you. This is the fan. This is an expensive piece of equipment because it actually creates the airflow and measures it. So I'm going to open this as wide open as possible because I know I'm probably not going to be able to blow enough air to hit my standard pressure, which is measured by my little tiny computer here. This is a $1,200 calculator. It's a pressure gauge called a manometer. I've got hoses referencing the outside pressure and the inside pressure, and it's going to be doing all kinds of calculations. So right now I'm going to go ahead and run it. This fan moves 6,000 CFM. I couldn't even get it to 10 pascals. I wanted to get to 50. So I couldn't push nearly enough air. And it was looking at around 17,000 CFM.
So Corbett, just how leaky is the 1920s Makeover?
Very leaky. I actually have tested the oldest house in the entire country, which is a 1650 Dutch family house in New York City. It's in East Flatbush. We did it as part of the Proof is Possible tour when we were going around in our tiny house on wheels testing stuff. And that was 13,000 CFM. This house was 17,000 CFM when we hit the pressure, which we couldn't hit. I would need 3 of those fans, which are very expensive and take up a lot of space, to be able to hit the pressure that we talk about with every house. It's like an apples to apples comparison, which is called 50 pascals. You don't need to know that. But it was very leaky, which means that Chris and Jody and Matt are going to be able to do a great job of showing how incredibly much they've moved the house from the beginning to the end, which makes everybody feel good, hopefully.
This Makeover project is not just about the performance side of it. We are actually going to do a major gut renovation, the interiors, the architecture of it. We're going to see a transformation of that. But today we're looking at just the performance side of things. Corbett, you've done a lot with indoor chemistry, air quality, and things like that, but what is your perspective? Why is it so important to know about the airtightness of a home?
Well, for example, in the tiny house that I mentioned, we would park between semi-tractor trailers at a rest stop, and they would be running all night long, and we were expected to sleep in there. If our house was not super airtight, then it wouldn't have been easy to sleep because it would have been so loud. You live on a street, like right now, my driveway is 200 feet long here in Atlanta. So I don't have to worry about traffic noise, but I do live 5 minutes from the busiest airport in the world, and even here, and we're 20 miles from the airport, and there's planes going overhead. So leaf blowers, traffic, somebody honking for their girlfriend to come out of their house next door. Things like that are going to bother you if your house isn't airtight. So something as simple as how it sounds inside is one place to start. How it feels, how it smells, where your air is coming from, all that stuff starts to really impact, and it all starts right here with like the scientific testing side of the physics, chemistry, and microbiology.
This is Matt Hoots. He is with Sawhorse. He is the general contractor on this project. We are partnering up here at LG Squared with Matt and his company to do the design build on this project. We're going to help manage the construction of it. And Matt has been in this industry for a long time. He's been doing high performance projects for a better part of 20 years. He helped develop the local program called Earthcraft. He's been very involved in that and a big proponent of it. This is a pretty exciting one for all of us because it's this major gut energy retrofit. And so Matt, just talk a little about this project and your perspective on airtightness, since today we're focused on that and why it's so important to you.
Well, absolutely. I'm really excited about this house because I think we officially nominated this one as the leakiest house that's been tested on record. It was so leaky that the blower door just like it turned on and nothing was even happening. We're expecting soot and stuff to come out of the fireplace, nothing, and it was right next to the blower door. That's how leaky this house is. When we find problems like this in houses that have so many problems, we look at them as opportunities. The HVAC system is failing, the windows are rotting, falling apart, the moldy. We were doing some measurements on the outside of the house, realized that underneath this beautiful siding, which it looks amazing, there's no sheathing, so we have no building envelope. There's no insulation. So there's lots of things that we need to correct in this house. But as we're correcting it, we're able to make the house more airtight, deal with moisture in a proper manner, because like these older houses, it could be much worse if there was insulation in these walls and you're not dealing with the water because it's completely rotted out. In some of these areas, this house would probably be on the ground. We'd have to scrape it and start over if this house is actually even tighter, because the fact that it's loose is allowing it to dry out. So we're going to make it tight, bring it up to today's energy code, also dealing with the windows, replacing them with rot resistant windows. So lots of opportunities on this house to make it perform better than a new construction house today. And that's what we're most excited about, is to demonstrate how this house will outperform a house that is built to the Georgia Energy Code in 2021-22. Unless you're running a performance test and you're seeing like how I mean, you can paint the house, you can re-side it, you can reclad it, but when you walk in, you can smell the difference between a high performance house and an older house. When you walk into an old house that has good ventilation, basically good airflow, and you're dealing with the moisture and good filtration, we always forget to talk about filtration, you don't smell anything inside the house. So the importance is to get rid of any bad air that's inside the house. And also, as we're building this, we're going to be very cognizant of volatile organic compounds, VOCs, so not introducing new chemicals into the building process. So the new buyers of this house can basically breathe clean air, which is the whole point of this.
Awesome conversation and perfect information for why we're here today, and that's really discussing this. What is this infiltration? What is air leakage, and how it affects our buildings? We're talking about sound, smells, toxicity, fumes, performance of our HVAC systems. When air moves into the house, it's bringing moisture in with it, it's bringing heat with it. All of that has to be controlled. The less less outside air that gets into the house, the less we have to control, the less energy that's needed to run those HVAC systems to keep the house comfortable. So, and then when that system creates that hot and cold air, the tighter the house is, the more that air is going to stay inside the house, the less it's going to leak out. Okay, so that's more comfort and less energy consumed to keep you comfortable and healthy. These are points that we're going to talk about throughout the course of this project, but right now we're just finding out where we stand today, so we can set our goals and say how much we can improve this and see where the opportunities are. I want to thank both Matt and Corbett for being here today and helping us out, help explain why we're doing this and what this is all about. This is really exciting. I love working with these guys. It's going to be an excellent project. Stay tuned, and if you haven't subscribed already, click that the button below and follow along on this project and all the other projects we got going on. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.